right, so this is coming out a little bit later in the week than I wanted it to. But it's Friday. I always love Fridays. Fridays are always fun. So we're here with this. It feels so weird to be doing this because it feels like the show is maybe halfway over. It doesn't feel like it's been a full year of me covering this. But I did all 50 episodes. Right now I'm planning on going through King Oger. We'll see. I enjoyed the first episode. If you have not seen my review of that, I basically titled it Should I Go Over King Oger in the title. But this is not about King Oger. This is going to be me just talking about oh my god. Talking about DonBrothers, talking about everything, giving my opinion on the series as a whole. And what I like to do is we start with the negative, and I don't have too much to talk about, and then we'll talk about the positives after, end with the positives, start with the negatives. That's how I always kind of think, especially for like a review style video like this for a whole season. And I mean, what other way can I start the bad than with the reveal of the Black Ranger, or the Black DonBrother, whatever you want to say? Why? Just why? They played it off as a joke. And I went through like 2 or 3 episodes in a row. I bashed and bashed and bashed and bashed. And I killed this thing already. And so, you can go back, you can go watch my reviews. I think is it 44? 43, 44 is when the actual reveal happens. Of like, hey, they're all together. They're all transforming together, all 6 of them. And then it's like, oh, crap. Here's a gag at the end of the episode because we don't have anything else to do. And the weird thing is the way I perceived it when it happened, that Toro, Don Red, knew him. He knew that he was Don Black not the whole time, but at least part of the time. He's like, hey, let's go. Let's get in line and let's just transform together. And then that was never touched upon. And then they talked, and they have episodes later on of like, hey, like, I hated your leadership and all this other crap. When they're in the village with the 6th Ranger who's going through he's going through a midlife crisis. and they just bring it up of like, hey, like, they just can't stand, or at least Don Black can't stand him. Can't stand how he is, even though, again, he's not an Earthling. So he's going to act differently. And I don't know how much he knew compared to the rest of the cast, because, again, he wasn't around in person for everything. So that could be, part of the reason as to why he really hated Toro, Don Red. But it was such a weird episode, and I don't know. I can't stand that reveal. I thought they did everything else. Everything else I thought was like really well done. I thought this story arc as a whole was really well done. I'm like, hey, if they want to push it off, wait the whole series and then reveal him for the the final battle. Maybe he gets de-transformed by the monster, the final boss or whatever, or the bosses in this case, which it wasn't. I mean, we didn't really have a final boss essentially because they just kind of all killed each other, and then some of them turned to good. We never got that Cerebrian Don Clan. We never got that 3rd battle. And so there wasn't really a final boss. But I thought, hey, there can do something like that, and it's like, oh my god, like, that's who the Black Ranger is. We know who he is now. He's been, he's been around us the whole time. He's been with us in some of our adventures. And, now that we're all, getting beat down and they're finding out, like, hey, like, that's who it is. And then they can escape and they can ask him questions and all this other crap. But they didn't do that. They just like, okay, here we go. Transform, beat the monster, go our separate ways again. And then the Yellow Ranger's going to pop up and, like, have nighttime thoughts of, oh, shit. That's who he is. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's how you're gonna do it. It's. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Because again, I've beat this topic to death in like 3 episodes in a row. Just right after it happened, the episode had happened, and then 2 after it. It annoyed the crap out of me for a month straight, and it's still to this day really annoying. I still don't agree with how they handled it, especially the build-up. Oh my god, the build-up. I enjoyed the hell out of the build-up. The hell out of it. I thought, okay, you know what? Eventually he's going to have to find Natsumi, get her back, and, all this other crap. And, he's going through life. I do think that dumbasses are like, hey, you have to wait 1 year, and then you can find Natsumi again, and then we had 1 year. It was like episode 16 or whatever it was. It's like, are you serious? You're gonna pay this off right away? And at the time, it's like, okay, well, then we're gonna just get the everyone knows each other, and we're gonna go into the second arc here, go into the third arc, and blah blah blah. Everything's gonna happen after that. But they didn't pay it off. They're just like, oh, okay, well, I don't get my payoff. I don't get Natsumi, so I'm still just kind of on the run. I mean, he does eventually get his name cleared, but then the point system makes him a super anti-hero vigilante that the cops are all of a sudden gonna want to track down again, even though he already cleared his name. But the points are magic, so we're just gonna roll with it. But just like, I didn't like the 1 year payoff, because again, nothing came. I don't even remember if Natsumi, maybe the Bestial was in that episode. I don't. That was so long ago. That was like last May or something like that. Like, we're almost a full year on from that whatever episode that was. But outside of that, I thought it was really well built up. He's trying to find Natsumi. He's going out of his way to leave the battlefield, leave the safety of the people, of the rest of the city, the rest of the world. He wants to find his love. He wants to find his girl. And I thought, hey, you know what? If I was in a situation, I'm on the run, and, I'm trying to, I'm forced to be a superhero, I'm going to do what I can, but I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to go get my girl. I'm going to go take care of myself first. Which, I mean, to be fair, and this kind of ties into my second thing, the monster of the week just was never a threat. And it's mainly because they didn't goddamn bring up the rest of the team to Toro's level. Okay, you know what? Well, let's. I want to finish talking about Don Black here, and then we'll get into it, because I have a lot to say about that. So, anyway, back to Don Black. So, again, like, he's going off on his own. He cares more about, Natsumi finding clues and whatnot than he does, protecting everyone. Which, again, when you have Toro just slicing and dicing everything in one shot, it's like, okay, you know what? Fine. I go do what else I want to do, because they don't need my help. They're not getting beat up and almost dying here. So, like, but that's not his main priority. His main priority is finding Natsumi. So, I thought that was good. Oh, that goddamn plot with Don Pink, Kijino. Oh my god. Whew! And I know I'm kind of getting into some positives here, but there's so much to talk about with that. I love that love triangle, and who would have thought Natsumi goes for Don Pink? I didn't have that on my bingo card. I had Don Pink getting together with the bestial Natsumi, so she somehow survived that, because her death isn't confirmed. All we see is her body floating down the river. That's not a confirmation of a death. Sometimes it can be, but it doesn't feel like that's a confirmation. Why would you go focus on that? Why wouldn't you have, a deadly strike that just ends her, and now she, you see, like, effects and whatnot. You see her bleeding, and she's really just going down, and you just see her, like, eyes and, closing, and she just, slowly passed away. No, her eyes are closed, and she's just, like, to me, she felt unconscious. She didn't feel like she had a killing blow on her, even though she was just fighting a bunch of the, other different types of bestials, which we're gonna get a negative about that too. But point is, I love that triangle relationship with that, and again, you can kind of make it a square because you can kind of throw in the Natsumi bestial. The whole thing with the dreams, and she lives through the dreams, and again, it became clear, in the final 5 episodes, like, hey, like, she's not going back with Don Black because he's gonna just stay a fugitive. She doesn't want to go on the run. But up until that point, for most of the series, I'm like, yeah, they're going to figure out a way to give Don Pink a new girlfriend, a new wife or something here by the end of the series. And then you get to that where it's like, hey, Natsumi comes back, but again, she doesn't want to go on the run. So I thought that was beautifully well done. I didn't see it until, again, it was just happening at the end of the series. I did not think that they were going to go that direction, but they surprised me. And I thought that was really well done. So, what can I talk about quicker? We'll talk to Bestials. I have one major complaint with the Bestials, and that's that I don't really think that they needed to split them up into different categories, different tribes, in a sense of, hey, like, these bestials all hate each other, but then they're just taking on the Cerebrians, or taking on the DonBrothers, or they're taking on, whoever else, when they see them, they get into a fight. It's like, okay, well, yes, they're attacking each other, but it feels pointless. Now, maybe if they're like, oh, some of them went rogue or something like that, but to have 3 different tribes, we barely saw the penguin tribe as it is in the series. I think it was the cats was the major one we saw, and then it was cats, penguin. I don't remember the other. Was it monkey or something? I don't remember what the other one was. Point is I didn't like that. I thought they were kind of going to build to something as to like a war or something, and you're going to have some bestials fighting on the side of the DonBrothers or something like that. But no, they're all just kind of going after whoever, and just that just really peeved me off, or not peeved me off, but I wasn't a fan of that, just because it didn't feel like it really fit in the story. It didn't feel needed. Again, if you had some go rogue, hiding on Earth, and then they're, you have these bestials coming to Earth trying to take them out, like, I'm fine with that. But when you just have different tribes just kind of fighting essentially the cats, it's like, okay. Okay. And then they go on and fight the DonBrothers, or the Cerebrians, as I said before. So I wasn't a fan of that at all. It's not a huge major complaint, but it's just, there wasn't really a payoff to that. There wasn't something where it's like, oh, here at the end of the series, this is what's happening with them. And a payoff was essentially, hey, Don Red goes gold and tells him, hey, get back in the forest. You're never coming to Earth again. It's like, oh, we're just going to forget all our problems. Just go back in the forest. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. Speaking of Don Red, we'll talk about that here real quick. I don't like to focus on the power scaling, but early on in the series, when you make it a point of they're nowhere near Toro's level, they're got to catch up, they got to get up to him, and then they never do. And it doesn't feel like Toro got much stronger throughout the series. Don Pink was constantly just turning into Hitotsuki, whatever. And it's like, so, sometimes with that power-up, with the greed power-up, it's like, hey, you can fight Don Red. Not usually, but I think towards the end, I believe he kind of could, at least with some of his power. But, Don Blue just was an afterthought. They didn't really get much of a story. We're gonna dive into Don Blue after this. But you had opportunities to boost them all up, to make them at least closer, and they kind of did that. And then the second half of the series happened. You get gold form. You get the shield, the chest plate shield for Sonai. And then even his his companions, Sonai's companions, kind of fell behind. And it's just this 2-man race of Don Red and Sonai. And then towards the very end of the series, they don't even use those power-ups. We get the final battle, which I explained in my final episode my headcanon for that. But, Sonai's not really fighting in with his shield on. No one else really has a power-up. They're not going into Robotaro, by the way, which is supposed to be the power-up form. They're not using it against these elder Cerebrians, these, top-tier level Cerebrians. Don Red comes in, powers up his sword to max, and just one-shots him. It's like, where'd the power scaling go? You had it for the first half. It's like, okay, they're kind of creeping their way closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And then he gets gold form. And then it's like, okay, well, let's hope that the rest of the team can use gold form. Nope. Their excuse is probably, oh, they're humans, they can't use it. It's only a Don Clan technique or something, which I think would be dumb, to be honest. Maybe in the movie, maybe someone else, like Haruka, Don Yellow will use it. Will use the gold mode, but after he got gold mode, it was the 2-man race. And then he doesn't even need to go gold mode to beat up these, top tier Cerebrians. So I hated that. I don't know why they had first half of this series of try to get up there, and then the power gap just exploded. And then it was to a point where it's like, they can't even fight without Toro there. And there was like a couple fights where like, oh, I wish Toro was here to help. And they're getting beat down. It's like, what the hell? You're supposed to be closer. Use your Robataro forms, first of all. And then, you try to grow your power yourself. We didn't really have a lot of training arcs. It was mainly, Haruka, she basically was just writing and, dressing a maid costume for the cafe and serving people drinks and food. She didn't really do anything. Don Blue didn't, at least not on screen, didn't really do anything. Just kind of, giving advice to people, writing haikus, nothing like that. If you want to, in a roundabout way, say that Don Pink got powered up through the greed, through the Monsters of the Week, if you want to say that, sure, he was, fighting the Don Brothers. Really, the only one that I could say kind of was constantly fighting was Don Black. Inu Spock, I don't even know. Don Black. He's on the run, cardio. You're fighting them. You're fighting the police, trying to push them away, trying to prove your innocence, and you're constantly on the run. So it's like, hey, like, I if they want to say, like, Don Black was close to him, okay, fine. That's fine with me. But, like, it's just, there was no one close to him. Especially, again, the second half of the series after he got gold form. And I was hoping the rest of the team would be able to use it. But no, they don't even use the Roboteros half the time, which, again, is probably due to CGI and some of this other crap. But, the budgets on these shows. But King Oger just, like, exploded the budget in one episode. I don't understand it. And I guess, you I could say the Robatero forms was saved for essentially the Megazords, if you want to say that. But I hated how they kind of treated them. They treated the first half of like, hey, like, we got to catch up to them. And then they treat the second half of like, oh, let's just let Toro do all the work. Okay. So, let's move on to Don Blue here. I kind of feel bad for him because his story arc was going from essentially not being able to, like, money's the devil, doesn't want to touch money or any other crap. And, it kind of goes through, like, in the background, essentially, of like, hey, like, money can be good, like, he says at the end, it's like, hey, like, you guys help me out, like, I feel like a different person, I might start trying some of this other crap and whatnot, but his story arc was essentially nothing, like, it was essentially just a boring little thing here, so, yeah, you kind of just relegate a main character to the background, one of the main five to the background. The Sixth Ranger got way more story arc, and he was around for like 3/4 of the season. You could have had time. You had so much time to build up a story arc for Don Blue. You did it for Pink. You intertwined it with Blacks. You did it for Haruka. Literally, like, frame one was like, hey, I'm going to be the world's best manga artist, essentially. Like, frame one, we knew what her goal was. And, Don Blue is just like, yeah, I just like haikus, and I just give people advice. It's like, okay, like, where's the story arc here? Oh, money's evil. Well, duh. There's no real story arc, nothing, too crazy. So, he just kind of, again, got pushed to the back. And was just kind of there for parts of the series. So, those are my big complaints. Now, a teeny tiny complaint I have, it doesn't affect the series at all. I guess in a sense it kind of affects the first arc. And that is the ability where they transform, and I guess Don Red did it, when he had gold form, but they can transform into past Sentai. First of all, I think Ryu Soldier Black, I believe, was the first one, which was episode 8 or something like that. Then they had a couple sprinkled out, early on, and then we didn't see anything for 10 plus episodes, which is, 3 months, somewhere around there. My throat, I don't have a drink with me. I still got, we're 20 minutes in, I still have more to talk about. But the Sentai suits, I didn't think it really needed to. My theory, at least early on when we saw the black Ryu Soldier suit, was, hey, this is their way of getting around the CGI. They're just gonna have Don Black transform into a past Sentai to get around some of the CGI, and then the rest of the team will do based around that or whatever. No, they didn't even do that, because they're just like, oh yeah, here's Don Black, as a pup, as a CGI for most of the most of the series. Like he doesn't really transform into anyone else, I don't believe. After that, Toro again only has like 5. I don't even think Don Pink or Don Blue transforms into one. And then I think Don Yellow. Didn't she have? Was it like the Terra Ranger? From Aba Ranger. Akiba Ranger. that's not official. From Aba Ranger, I think. But again, like they kind of put the premise of like maybe these gears are going to be used for something. Kaito was collecting them. We got no payoff there. Which, by the way, literally like episode 15 or 16, they just stopped showing what happens to the gears. Like, they just disappear. And I guess we're supposed to assume that they all just teleport right to Kaito, even though not all of them did, because you would see some of them drop to the ground when after they beat the monster of the week. So like it was the weirdest thing ever. Like the gears, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And now maybe it's setting up for the movie again, which is with Zenkaiger. It's comes out this May. So we won't get it subbed until at least like September, October. So, but I thought it was very strange to kind of include the Sentai Gears in a non-anniversary type season, especially because you just had Zenkaiger, which kind of just did that thing too. With that was an anniversary season though. This is kind of coming off the heels of that, and it was cool. It's like, oh, Ryu Soldier early on in the series, and then they just kind of push all that to the side, kind of forgot about the gears, and they just kind of fought in their normal forms, or in the DonBrothers form. So, I don't know. I tell you one thing, though. When we get the 50th anniversary, when we get 55, 60, I am, like, are they going to have the CGI dog? Like, are they even going to go, oh, yeah, we want to bring back, Don Black, and we want this character to be CGI. I don't even know if they're going to do that. Because we don't have too many CGI characters. In the Sentai series, and I can't recall many times where they kind of brought back, CGI suits and whatnot, for other stuff. Even like Revice kind of eventually just kind of went away from, all those forms they had in the, the first arc, like the T-Rex and the shark and the hawk and whatnot, and they kind of just went away from that after. So even Kamen Rider kind of does that too. And then we probably won't even see those like in the future with like Decade or Zeo or whoever has the power of all the riders in the future. Like we probably won't even see those type of forms from the rider side too. So I don't know, it's just, it was weird. I know it's kind of a weird tangent, but it wasn't my cup of tea to have suits in there. It's mainly for nostalgia, even though Ryu Soldier's only like 2 years old, 3 years old, so there you go. If you want something from only a couple years ago, here's one suit, and then you're gonna see Zyuohger in the gold suits, and then I think Tokyuger got one, and then like there wasn't that many. So now on to the good. We're 23 minutes in. I already kind of touched on some good. I love that triangle, that love triangle, and again, if you want to add Natsumi, make it a love square. I love that. I thought that was really well done. Really paced out well too. It didn't feel rushed, and like really, like you get into the second half of this series, and it's like, oh my god, like we get a nugget here, nugget there, little bit of information here, there. We get them, they're like fighting each other again. They're fighting for love. It's love makes you do crazy things, and you're not gonna believe your teammates if they tell you like, hey, like she's not real, she's an alien, which some people are gonna be like, hey. But, I get it. I understand the sense of, hey, you're not going to understand that. You're blind to love, and you're like, oh, she's an alien? Then why I've never seen her as an alien before? I'm married to her, for God's sake, and I've never seen her as an alien. So I thought that was really well paced out throughout. Again, a couple of fights in between them. We got the White Cerebrian intertwined with that. She ends up with Don Black, and now they're both on the run. Again, Natsumi got with Don Pink. He got with Kijino. I didn't see that coming until the very end of the series, as I spoke before. So I thought that was well done. Haruka and the Brown Cerebrian, at times I thought was weird, because you had the whole kidnapping, 2-episode thing, and it just ended up being that he wanted her to be a better writer, and then she just kind of accepted that. I thought that was a little weird. Of hey, this kidnapping guy that just kidnapped me, I'm totally okay with that. You want to become my new editor? you want to become my... I know you kidnapped me, but I need someone to revise this for me. I don't understand that, but again, second one of the series, wants to become a manga artist, wants to make sure she's not a plagiarist. You have the whole bunny suit, which ends up being future her. Look at that. Which I thought was kind of interesting. Don Blue's from the future too. He's able to touch money and all this other crap, and they're going out together. Which I feel like I would probably have Haruka go out more so with Toro, but I'm not gonna get in the ship yet. We're gonna stay away from that type of shit. I don't even want to go near that. But anyway, it turns out to be her. So she's essentially a plagiarist to herself from the future who came back to kind of relive her glory days, which is kind of dumb. But at the same time, she affects her to become a better manga artist because she kind of pushes herself. So, I like it, but at the same time, it's okay. If you go back throughout the series, you can kind of see some hints. Toro's front and center on some of those, manga covers and whatnot. It's oh yeah, that's Toro, that's, Haruka, they're gonna get together by the end of the series. And I never put 2 and 2 together in my head of hey, this is the DonBrothers book. This is exactly what it is. They're setting up to round this out, and she's writing her own book. And she was reading some pages, and I guess she never put 2 and 2 together. We never see some of those pages. Some of the stuff, especially later on when the future versions of them leave, and hey, everything's in the manga, and then you see Toro's reading the manga as they're going to the village. Everything's kind of setting up, and it's damn. Do they even get to the village? Do they even do any of this stuff if they don't read the manga? Does the series just continue on? We never get a finale? What's gonna happen if they don't split up? I guess the series cuts short because while they're away in the village, the Cerebrians attack. So I'm sure Toro just takes out those Cerebrians, and then you have the other 2 that are watching, and he can just take them out too. So I guess probably the series ends faster if they don't go to the village. So, oh my god, my throat is dry. I'm gonna try to wrap up here kind of fast. There's just too much to talk about. Suits really grew on me. Toro's suit really grew on me. Haruka's suit really grew on me. I'm still not super sold on Don Blue. I forget his name, but and then Don Black, Don Pink CGI, I think they're pretty good. They had a actual upper body, and actually I think you see the full. I think they actually had a full suit for Pink. They had a little statue dog that they would kind of shake around and whatnot for stuff that they didn't want to animate or probably had a hard time animating. So they had some shots like that, little statues of Don Black. But suits really grew on me. Oh my god, my throat is killing me. When I first saw him, I don't know about CGI suits, but I don't want to, I don't want to be critical of it, before I see them in action. I didn't see the King Oger suits until I saw a video, so that's kind of a different experience for me than, seeing the DonBrothers suits. I saw them in the magazine scans, I saw them, on paper. But I thought about it in the same way I thought about Revice. When I first learned and heard about Revice, I was thinking a pink and blue main Kamen Rider, and then you see the suit, and it's like, I don't know, that's kind of like a weird concept, weird idea. But then you get the trailer, and you get, they kind of had like the special intro where I think they did the Megalodon, I think. But you see them fighting on a rooftop, you see the suit in action and all this other crap with kind of like the teaser. It's like, okay, you know what? It's not bad. Like, Vice, I should say, I thought, I liked his suit too. I thought that was pretty interesting. But it was the same way with the DonBrothers for me, as I saw the CGI stuff, and I'm like, I better wait because I don't feel too good about it right now, but in the future I might like it. And again, when you see him in action, and you got to remember that you can't, this isn't a blockbuster, this isn't Avengers Endgame, Avatar 2, or even Avatar 1, type of CGI where they can polish it. They take years and years and years for that. No, this is basically probably made within a year or two. Like, you probably have some shots where they're like, hey, we have to get these CGI shots done now. We can do the other stuff later. And then we'll have, time for that towards the end of the series. So they didn't have, like, a ton of time to do this. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was well done. There is some times where it's like, okay, they look a little out of place. But what are you supposed to do? You can't do much about that. So, like, I'm not going to fault the animators for going, oh, yeah, we have a limited budget, limited time frame. Let's just, try to make this look like Avengers Endgame style or Avatar 2 style of CGI. Like, I don't expect that. But, overall, I feel like the actors kind of really did well, especially when they're supposed to be fighting like a CGI, Sentai, one of the DonBrothers, or, whatever. I feel like the actors kind of like they made it done really well. And I'm sure, with the, animation department too, with the CGI department, I'm sure they're like, hey, do this a couple times. We're going to, precise it up and whatnot. But yeah, suits overall good. I don't know if I want a CGI every year, and right now we don't have one for the main five for the King Ogers. Maybe in the future we get a CGI 6th Ranger or a 7th Ranger or 8th Ranger or whatever, but I'm fine with them not doing it every year, but just an occasional, maybe every 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, have like a CGI, Ranger. I think they're pretty interesting. I know. Or Sentai, sorry, I know someone got mad at me because I said Megazord one time. I'm like, hey, I'm American, it's what I do. But, suits really well done. Story arc's really well done. Now, I'm hoping the movie closes the page on Toro's arc. I want him to, get back with his dad, have another conversation with his dad. I would love if they kind of explore the idea of going to, like, the past for, seeing more other of the Don clan, or, oh, hey, look at some of the Don clan members miraculously survived, and they're on this planet, let's go visit them, and they can kind of, go off and do an adventure on that, have kind of like a spin-offs, which Sentai doesn't really do a lot of spin-offs, but, it's something, I want something Don clan related, for the movie for Toro. I don't feel like his arc is over, even though he reset, in a sense that, he kind of, he's wearing all white, suit became all white and whatnot. So, I'm sure they're going to have to, get his memories back in the movie, and then he's going to be like a final act savior, essentially. But then it's like, okay, well, then you have 2 Sentais, essentially, where Toro just wipes them out and just, like, beats the bad guys, and, Zenkaiger and all these Kikoinoids, or whatever I think they were Kikoinoids. These non-human things too, like, they're not even on the level of Toro. So, like, I would like if he at least transforms in the gold form to at least beat him. So it's like, oh, hey, like, we should have powered up to beat him, and they didn't do that. But, if Toro just comes in base form and just slash everything, it's like, okay, really? Toro's like top tier. He's like one of the strongest beings in the multiverse at that point. And that's not even adding on top of the multipliers gold form would have. The post-series buff that every Sentai seems to get. It's not even adding that on. So I'm excited for the movie. I hope the power scaling, which again, it doesn't mean a lot, but, when they kind of built it up in the first half of it's supposed to mean something, that's when it's like, oh, come on. Couldn't even pay that off right. So, very interested to see what happens with the movie. They don't usually have crossovers in the middle of a series, with King Oger. So don't expect a crossover with DonBrothers until probably like a year and a half from now. Probably like next May. So 2024 of May is when we'll probably get the DonBrothers King Oger's crossover movie too. So there might be more information in that. Again, there might be an spin-off. They don't really do that a lot for a lot of series. I know they had the Super Sentai Battle Hour or whatever it was, Battle Paradise or something, where they just kind of brought back a bunch of the old actors, teamed them up, and like had a beat. Apparently, it was like Universal level monster or whatever. But point is, I can't wait to see how Toro's arc kind of finishes with the movie. And again, it might not, but then it's like, when are you going to get the chance to, unless you are doing a spin-off series with that or another movie after that. But yeah, I'm excited for him. Overall, I was happy, just with the series. I think that, the actors look like they were having so much fun. And I didn't make a video on the movie, the last summer's DonBrothers movie. I forget what it was called. But it was basically, they filmed the movie, and they just had, like, Haruka was, like, a high-pitched for some of the scenes, and then Toro was acting like a crazy man and going like this, and like, doing all these, like, poses. So, like, it seems like they had probably more time with the movie to do, more fun stuff. But overall, throughout the series, it seems like they just had a lot of fun with it. So, I'm going to miss this cast. I love this cast. Again, literally what I stated early on is not nitpicks, but the stuff that just wasn't that, great. And we're 36 minutes into it, and, there wasn't that much. There's so much you could have talked about. I could go on about the Cerebrians for an hour. I thought that arc was good. I'm excited to see how they finish up that, because now they're kind of a part of the Don clan. His dad, I thought, was kind of a good mentor. Kaito, I go back and forth on Kaito, and I'm going to put him in the good here. I don't know, like, there's times where it's like, hey, like, he might be, like, an extra ranger, like a 7th or 8th type of ranger, to kind of help him out, and he did, like, one time, really early on in the series, and then he never really transformed. Like, he had, like, I think 1 or 2, in the second half of the series, but he didn't do much. He just kind of sat there and was basically just like, hey, like, I'm the plot device. So I don't know. I go back on if he's needed in the series, and now obviously you can say, okay, well, there's no points, so then the Cerebrian White's dead, all this other crap. They can't use the points, so the series probably ends like really dire. But there's parts where it's like, Kaito could have at least been helping them to, on the battlefield or whatever, or training them or something. And there was even no hint of that. Like, that he was even helping Haruka kind of train off screen or anything. Like, there's no hints of that. So, I don't know. I'm going to put him in good. I thought Kaito was good. I like this darker version of Kaito, this more silent and strong type of Kaito compared to what we just had for Zenkaiger. So, with the crossover movie, I'm sure we're going to get something involving the two Kaitos coming together. Black Kaito, white Kaito kind of fighting side by side, against the, movie boss. So it's just, I don't know. It wasn't needed in a lot, but he was just kind of the plot driver. It's essentially what he was. He owned the cafe where they just could meet, which I thought was a really nice touch of having alternate dimension, same cafe, just this one's different because the other one was kind of like a candy store type of thing. This one is more so a like coffee shop, ice cream type of place. More so food based than just candy. So I like that hey, like, they kind of just reuse that. And obviously they can't really do that for King Oger because, again, this is kind of set in like an alternate reality. But it's going back to places like that, I thought it's kind of cool. Like, I hope they do more. I've touched on this a couple times. I've heard like rumors and whatnot that they're trying to make it like a continuity, like a timeline type of thing. For this kind of all keep it kind of connected, at least this newer Sentai. I think that kind of started with Zenkaiger, but that was kind of with the decline of, viewership and all this other crap, ratings and whatnot. So that's why they're kind of trying to make it like a multiverse, essentially, because this way you can have Kikoi Noise and humans in one universe. You can have, you know, a normal world like the Don Brothers in another one. So, you know, again, I'm interested to see kind of when we get 5 years down the line, just kind of revisit stuff. It's like, oh, hey, like, look at that. That's kind of, you know, from this series here or that series here. But I thought overall, I'm going to wrap with this 40-minute video. 40-minute, I can't wait to upload this. I got to edit this, upload this. But, you know, I thought it was so well done. I thought the series was just magnificent. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 in total just because, again, that Don Black reveal really killed that whole arc for me. After everything it built up, it really killed it for me. So I can't give it a perfect score. I want to, but it's a big flaw. For me, it's a big flaw to just have it be a gag. So let me know your thoughts. I know this is a 40-minute video. Not many people are going to watch a 40-minute video. Let me know your thoughts on the series as a whole. What did you like? What did you dislike? The whole 9 yards. And yeah, for now, like the video, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'm out of here. Peace.